Hello, my name is Eric Chimimana. In this video, we are going to see what average people think about the US government, and then through street interview that have been conducted, and then the interview will be accompanied with information that will come as a layout to correct some misconception about how the US government works.
Executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch.
Government, I think I know three branches: the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive.
Three branches of the government are the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. The legislative branch comprises the Congress, and this branch is in charge of making laws and enacting legislation. And the executive branch comprises the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. This branch is in charge of enforcing laws and also performing them. The judicial branch is comprised the courts, including the Supreme Court, and this branch is in charge of interpreting laws and making decisions that involves legal and other cases.
The executive are charged to execute laws that have been voted by the legislative. And the judiciary is charged to enforce that law.
Well, the judicial branch is the courts. They decide what laws make sense and don't and are constitutional. The legislative branch makes the laws. They write the laws and write budgets for the federal government. And the executive branch enforces the laws and also includes things like the military.
How these branches are connected is that the legislative branches make laws, but it cannot implement them, which means that the executive branch comes into play to implement and enforcing those laws. And those laws, in order to be enforced clearly, it can be evaluated by the judicial branch to see if they are not violating the Constitution. According to About.com 2015, checks and balances were established in order to ensure that the power of each branch are balanced in a way that no branch have power that is too powerful than other branches. For each branch has given the power to check the operation and the power of other branches. For example, the legislative branch may check the following over the executive branch. They may remove the president via impeachment and does also remove the judges through impeachment, which is one of the checks of the judicial branch. The executive branch may check the legislative branch over veto powers and empowerment of judges, and the judicial branch may have the following checks over the executive branch by judging legislative laws if they are unconstitutional.
Actually, that's all I know about parties. That is the Democratic and the Republicans. Others, I know there are others, many, but I don't know.
Third party
Yes.
in the United States? Well, there are lots of small third parties, but none of them have many seats in any legislative body. We do have a Green Party, and there is a Socialist Party, and there's a Libertarian Party, but all of them are very small.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about how the two-party system started in the United States. I cannot start. Before starting, I'm going to share with you the major milestone that marked the beginning of two-party system in the United States. So according to Boundaries.com 2015, the first that we can call as first major political party that occurred or appeared in the United States were Federalist and Anti-Federalist parties. The Anti-Federalist Party also were known as Democratic Republican Party. And those parties are the party that we can say were a major and first party in the United States. And Federalists and Federalists were primarily built on what we can call the ratification of the Constitution or the approval of the Constitution. Generally, or in fact, as Boundaries.com suggests, Federalist Party was primarily the supporters of the Constitution, while the Anti-Federalist or Democratic Republican Party were the anti-supports of the Constitution. So, based on that, we can say that as Federalists were supporters of the Constitution and were primarily based this activity on Alexander Hamilton policies, and while Anti-Federalist Party was created by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison in 1792. According to David K. Abraham, in his brief history of the American two-party system, said that Anti-Federalists ran the presidents from 18th century to 1828. So then the president Andrew Jackson won the presidency in 1828 and became the pioneer of Democrats as the new party. David K. Abraham also continued insisting that later on the Republican Party was established in 1856 by Northern Abolitionist movement. Finally, in 1864, marked the beginning of two-party system that we already know today, which are Republican and Democratic Party, that evolved into a party that we usually know. David K. Abraham reported that Democratic Party over the presidency of Franklin Roosevelt started taking the leads over Republican Party at the beginning of the Great Depression period that had occurred in the United States during the period of 1968. Democratic Party started defining itself as the party for poor and middle-class people, while Republicans were more concerned with rights, civil rights, tax cuts, spending, and other political issues. So those are how those parties were started from Federalists to Anti-Federalists, and it goes to Democrats and Republicans. Boundaries.com 2015 emphasized that they said minor parties challenges major political party by imposing pressure on candidates from those major political parties, for example, the Republican and the Democrats. And then, so they put pressure on them about certain issues, and sometimes they may earn or gain some votes that can be distributed to the candidates from those major parties. And in this case, for example, one party can win, or one party can win, for example, in different elections, depending on the votes that was earned by this minor political party. So this means that the minor political party have a great impact on national elections, on national politics.
I think a bill becomes law when the president signs it. Yeah, that's all I know.
A bill is introduced by a member of Congress, either in the House or the Senate. It's usually considered by a committee that has jurisdiction over that topic. If it's a bill about banking, it goes through the Financial Services Committee, for example, in the House. If it passes one house of the Congress, it then goes to the other for its consideration. If they both agree on the language of the proposed law, the bill is then, and vote for it, at least a majority of both the House and the Senate, then it goes to the President. If the President thinks it's a good idea, he can sign it, and then it becomes law. If he doesn't think it's a good idea, he can veto it, in which case it does not become a law unless the House and the Senate vote by a 2/3 vote to override that veto.
A bill becomes law when it was voted by the legislative branch, and then the legislative branch submits the bill to the executive branch or the president. When the president approves the bill and sign it is when the bill becomes a law. And then the bill becomes law. In the process of making a bill to become a law, sponsors are members of Congress whose responsibilities are are for introducing the bill, and after sponsors introduce the bill, then the bill goes to the committees, and the committee's responsibility will to evaluate and examining the bill carefully. While the role of debate is to talking about the bill that was, or the legislation that was introduced, to ensure that doesn't it fraud the constitution. And then when it was after debating on the bill, and the law of voting is to ensure that a given, for example, committee, if it votes for the law, that the bill, that means that the bill is accepted or it passed to another stage for evaluation. Thank you.